Welcome everybody. I'm super hyped to get into the Hydreigon buffs and changes. These are super extensive despite what you might think by looking at it. Reason being, every single move for the most part is buffed or changed in some regard. In this hack, 600 plus buffs and changes have been made to moves, and I've laid them all out in great detail in the description below on that Google Sheet. You can check out all the other Pokemon buffs, and you can check out the move sheet and a bunch of other useful tabs at the bottom as well. I don't have time to get into all the move buffs and changes in this video, so I really do encourage people to look at that because of all the new moves and the move changes. But with that being said, Hydreigon, despite what my profile picture might indicate, Hydreigon is actually not my favorite Pokemon. It's probably in my top 10 or 20. I used to love it a lot more as a kid. I still love Hydreigon. Don't get it twisted. I love him. He's awesome, obviously, but not my favorite. I actually like Metagross more as a pseudo as well. And in this hack, there are actually dozens of new pseudo legendaries. So the title of pseudo legendary is not as exclusive as it once was. However, all pseudo legendaries have that mid Evo stage, which is now viable not only until level 45, which is when all of them evolve, but also just past the evolution level. You could theoretically use that pseudo pre-evolution because they typically have different tool sets and abilities and stats than the higher form will have. So in this case, Zweilous has two great abilities in Hustle and Berserk. Hustle has been massively buffed, while Hydreigon has Levitate and Sheer Force, which is obviously a very fitting ability for Hydreigon. I would have kept Berserk. I actually really like Berserk on Hydreigon. Flavor-wise, it fits even more than Sheer Force. But the sad thing is, Berserk does not work with Substitute, and so you can't run, you wouldn't be able to run any funny Substitute stuff. And so I just think that having the option for Berserk on Zweilous is more fun, and then Hydreigon can just go Unga Bunga Sheer Force, which there are dozens of new moves that are affected by Sheer Force. So you can check out all those in the description as well. I have a nice little link there. You could do the same for Hustle for all the new Hustle moves, but what I will say is all priority moves bypass the Hustle accuracy drop, as well as a bunch of other moves like Dragon Tail, which is 90 base power, that doesn't miss, and then stuff like First Impression, Draco Jet, False Strike gives you +1 accuracy and attack, Raging Fury can't miss, and that's 100 base power if you moved last, and that's Fire type. Beat Up and Punishment both don't miss, so you have all types of really powerful Hustle options. Sucker Punch especially is very powerful. And yes, I did give Zweilous Roost. It's weird as fuck, and I acknowledge that. But I wanted him to have reliable recovery for Berserk sets, and if I put Molt, which is like the typical reliable recovery move I give to lizards and dragons and bugs that can't learn Roost, typically you don't have Learner until the end of the game, so you would have to be stuck with Molt on your learn set, which isn't a bad move by any means, but it's a little bit situational. So I'd rather just have Roost, so that way you can use that infinite usability capsule, switch from Hustle to Berserk, tack on Roost, and now you're chilling. Now you can run Berserk plus Roost. In general, Zweilous is very tanky with the Violite and definitely is worth using. Great Pokemon even up to level 45, even if you evolve right away. As for Hydreigon, I did decrease the defenses because this is one of the Pokemon I can't give a base stat total buff to, but I still wanted him to be a lot stronger physically and faster. And so I figured a little bit more HP fits because I do try to base HP more on size now, and Hydreigon's a pretty giant dragon. So more HP, way less defenses, but he does have a huge buff to attack and speed, which are really important. So he's actually not very frail. He's not as tanky as he used to be, but he's still not that frail. 97, 75, 75 is totally good enough to run stuff like Roost on certain sets. You do have access to infinite EV training items as well as infinite usability capsules, so you can easily toggle your sets between physical and special, bulky or slow, bulky or fast, and whatever you may want to do. Zweilous and Hydreigon are both great Pokemon. You also have a lot of great mixed attacking moves. Your coverage is absolutely absurd. I do not even have close to enough time in this video to cover every single option, but what I will say is, in terms of sheer force boosted moves, Flash Cannon is 110 base power, Iron Tail is 110 base power. Both of those are sheer force boosted and 90% accurate. And those are great coverage moves. Sludge Bomb and Gunk Shot as well for fairies, of course. And then you have powerful stabs, and then you have all kinds of elemental coverage, as well as stuff like Earthquake, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Earth Power. Although Earthquake is not sheer force boosted, but you get my point. Most moves are sheer force boosted now, though, so in general, as a rule of thumb, you can get most sheer force boosted moves. But yeah, Zweilous Hustle's great with U-Turn. Draco Jet, False Strike is huge. Again, that gives you +1 attack and accuracy each time you click it, and it doesn't knock out the opponent, so you can actually use that to your advantage and get a boost more than you would normally be able to get if you knocked the opponent out. But most importantly, you can just click that once and then just go to town and click Crunch or Breaking Swipe or whatever. Zweilous is also great for utility. It has stuff like Parting Shot and, like I said, Roost and Breaking Swipe and Dismal Cry, drop the opponent's attacking stats by 1. It's very tanky with the Violate once you get that around Olivia. So yeah, using Zweilous to level 45 will be a breeze and will be very fun. I actually really like Zweilous, so I'm pretty happy that they're good. Hydreigon, despite the fact you might be looking at the abilities and be like, okay, Levitate is really situational. I'm going to be running Sheer Force most of the time, and you'd be right. However, because of that infinite usability capsule and because of the fact that he isn't really that bulky, you know, for example, a stab, strong ground type attack is still going to absolutely chunk Hydreigon or even potentially knock it out, depending on how strong it is. Having that Levitate for that immunity is still useful because you do have access to the trainer documents. You can just switch between Levitate when you need it. That's the beauty of having immunity abilities in this hack is you don't need to run them 24/7. So as you know, that if you know that you're going to be going against a strong ground type that you need your Hydreigon to switch into and then hit with a super effective move or just whatever you want to do, there's all types of ways to work around that, but in general, Levitate's great. Not to mention, a lot of your good moves are actually not Sheer Force boosted, so you have the absolute nukes that are Oblivion Beam and Draconic Beam, which are 180 base power moves that drop your special attack stat by 4. -4 special attack is actually not that bad. It's only a 2/3 decrease, so 2 Oblivion Beams in a row, for example, is stronger than 2 Twilight Cannons in a row, or 2 Draconic Beams in a row is stronger than 2 Draco Meteors in a row, because those are 150 base power as opposed to 180. So if you do the math out, it still is stronger to use those twice in a row. However, the main downside of those two moves, Oblivion and Draconic Beam, is that they only have 3 PP. That's the main downside. Because the actual special attack drop is not a big deal. You can just Parting Shot or U-turn out after anyways. Because using that twice is insane. They are obscenely powerful, okay? And then you have tons of other great Sheer Force boosted moves. Dragon Rush, Night Daze, Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse is 100 base power and is Sheer Force boosted, so that's actually stronger than Draconic Wave. Draconic Wave is Dragon type Boom Burst, 125 base power. Boom Burst itself is 125 just because all types of other Pokemon have it, and it would be broken if it was 140 with no drawbacks, but 125 with no drawbacks is still amazing, given how its distribution is still relatively limited. Other stuff that is great that isn't Sheer Force boosted, stuff like Heat Wave, which always crits, so that's almost 100 base power overall now, and that always crits, so you can run that with Draco Meteor, Twilight Cannon, Oblivion Beam, Draconic Beam, that type of stuff, and then you will crit right through the boost, and you're also able to hit Steel types with Heat Wave, and also technically Fairies, although not super effectively on average. So yeah, that's really cool for Levitate sets, and in general, you can just run nice bulkier sets as well, or just have that niche little immunity. In general, though, mixed sets on Hydreigon are great. Physical and special sets are both great. You can easily customize between the two and switch between the two. Setup-wise, he has Nasty Plot, of course, Dragon Dance, of course, and then he also has Swords Dance, although setup PP and the viability of setup moves in general in-game is a lot harder than it used to be in Vanilla, because in Vanilla, it's really easy to just set up and win the game. But now there's all kinds of anti-setup countermeasures that I put into place. I don't have time to cover them in this video. Just trust me when I say it won't be as easy to set up anymore. Not impossible, just not nearly as easy, and not nearly as sweep. Like you might be able to get a few kills, but eventually you're gonna have to switch out because something's gonna threaten you out with a priority move or phasing move or something like that, or a crit move if you're boosting defenses. So yeah. Other than that, I don't really notice to say. It's got great utility for the early game, like I said. That bulky Dragon Tail Hustle. I mean, I can't. Let me actually put it in perspective how strong Hustle is on 100 base attack. 328 times 1.5 is 492. 492 attack. 175 base attack is what Zweilous essentially has, all right? And you have, again, you have that priority move, Draco Jet, you have all Sucker Punch, Dragon Tail, you have moves that will not miss, so it's beautiful, great ability, very easy to use. You can see a full list of all the hustle moves on the Google Sheet. Berserk plus Belch is awesome, by the way. It's a little funny thing I want to mention. Belch now gives +1 special attack, right? So it's 120 base power, can't miss, and it's really fun because you can use Berserk plus, for example, Salakberry. You also have Endure as an option, as a TM that you could teach. So you could run like Endure, Salakberry, Belch, Berserk, and then you can get +1 special attack, +1 speed from Berserk and the Salakberry, and then you could also run that with Citrus Berry if you wanted to. By the way, like for example, you get to below half, you get the Belch, you get your Citrus Berry. Now you're healed up again, so you could use that too. But with speed, you can then use Belch and get +1 special attack even more, so you're at +2 special attack after the first Belch, and it's super fun. And obviously, it's a great coverage move as well. So Belch is genuinely very viable on these guys, which is really fun. I love that. I love to see that. Yeah, tons of other great utility options, powerful coverage moves. I'm not going to even bother covering every single one. It would take absolutely forever. But in general, you just need to know that they have tons of coverage options, tons of great hustle moves, great things they can do with Berserk, great utility moves, and then Hydreigon is an absolute beast, of course, with that Sheer Force. However, his speed tier is still not that good. 108 is the highest I think I could see logically for Hydreigon, because he does fly around, so, you know, speed tiers in general are a lot higher. You could check out a speed tier guide in the description below as well, but in general, I don't think it fits that well to be higher than like 110, for example, for Hydreigon. And of course, for example, the most common priority move in the game, First Impression, will destroy Hydreigon. So that's something to keep in mind. And in general, just a lot of, I mean, every type has a priority move now. So there's Fairy type priority and Ice type priority and all this stuff, Dragon type priority and Twister and Draco Jet and stuff. So you're going to want to be careful. It's not as good to have fast Pokemon as it used to be, although it still is nice to have, of course. Not every Pokemon's going to have priority on their trainer moveset. But yeah, that's about it. All right, I'm gonna leave the video off there. Hopefully you check out the description below and look at all the other changes, because again, I don't have time to cover them all in this video. Just trust me to say that there's a lot of them. Yeah, hopefully the other Hydreigon lovers out here are happy with this. I fucking love him. Now we can actually stand up with all the other pseudos, because Hydreigon wasn't bad or anything, especially in Vanilla, of course. But I mean, the evolution level alone makes him unusable in Nuzlocke, which is sad. But of course, all pseudos and all evolution levels in general are a lot more standardized now. No Pokemon evolves later than 45, and only the pseudos evolve at 45 and 25. Otherwise, it's 40 or lower. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and peace.